Hello and welcome back to the Blame Game. Finals weekend is finally upon us, and now we know the three teams going. TL got defeated and kicked into the lowest bracket by 100 Thieves, and Evil Geniuses absolutely yeeted C9 out of the playoffs 3-0. And given that we're traveling this week, I'm only going to cover one topic. Before we dig into it, make sure to subscribe to the channel to get notifications whenever these come out. Also, follow my Twitter and Twitch. I mean to stream these on Mondays, but I haven't recently. And again, this weekend was a tax week. I paid out the ass on Monday. Damn, being a freelancer. This week, I'm going to bridge the two series that happened into a single topic because fans are talking about the draft quite a bit in both. I don't want to misconstrue it. Some players have received some criticism, like Bwipo, Summit, and Fudge. But this is something that interests me. For TL fans, they're talking about the reverse sweep being enabled by the drafts, especially in games 3 and 4. And for C9, their epic collapse of the entire end of the season is due to their drafting. I'll just come out and say it. Of course, drafts play a huge part in a team's successes and failures. But the question in the blame game is the amount of attention and blame that this thing is getting proportional to its impact on the outcome of the games? And through this lens, it's a no from me. People talk way too much about drafts being good or bad or if they scale, and not enough at all about how people actually tried to pilot them. I will start with a concession first. That game 1 draft out of Cloud9 was maybe the worst draft I've seen all year. And not just because of things like scaling or whatnot, but also the manner in which they arrived there. 5th pick Jace into Ornn, Nocturne, Ryze is actually suicide. And if you don't feed your ass off early, which Summit did, you're still absolutely fucked in the mid to late game. You can't split because of the Nocturne, and you can't team fight, well, because just look at the draft. The enemy team has tons of dive and engage and utility, where Cloud9 just has damage. There's also no tanking or shielding or peeling. Sorry, Lux doesn't count like a Lulu or something. If EG engage, Cloud9 have no way of stuffing it. I feel like the scaling has been way too much of a discussion lately as opposed to actually talking about how these teams interact. Watching these games live and after Cloud9 got their 3rd Dragon Soul on the analyst test, we were talking about, does this actually even enable their comp? I was saying to Emily, like, there's no way Soul actually even helps their comp in this game because they're just going to get totally obliterated in team fights. And lo and behold, they get Ocean Soul, and we see how little it actually helps during the engages. The second concession that I'll grant is that Cloud9's collapse at the end of the season is tied to their players who have specific champion pools, and thus draft becomes an issue, and all three things are intimately tied together. But I'd still rather talk about the root cause as opposed to what is happening on game day. To me, there is nothing wrong with having a specific playstyle if you can execute on it. Summit plays lane dominant stuff, they play around Tim top, bot plays weak side with Winsome, who's trying to roam more on engages, and it all makes sense and that's fine. However, Cloud9 stopped being able to win through Summit, even in games where he got 30 CS leads, and it's not just because of Ornn or Malphite or whatever. Winston was also benched in the middle of playoffs, and they suddenly start playing more bot lane centric stuff. We heard that scrims were going terribly for them as well. This team was collapsing, and it's not all about draft because in game 2, they flipped their focus back to being a 4-1 scaling comp with strong defensive tools in TK and Trundle, and they still get ass blasted. From what we saw in this series, the level that Cloud9 was playing at compared to EG, I don't really think there's any realistic drafts you could have handed them that would have allowed them to win this series. And that's why I would prefer to talk about the root problems in their gameplay rather than the fact that, yeah, the drafts also weren't great. They are symptoms, not causes. If you want some rapid fire examples of things that are problems for Cloud9, here we go. In game 1, Cloud9 doesn't have any actual experience of playing through Caitlyn Lux enough to execute it properly, like Dignitas, for example. So after breaking the bot lane turret and flipping top, they don't protect their Cait Lux, who then get attacked, and their tempo is crushed. This is a completely tempo-based team comp, and this was arguably the most important play of the game despite Summit feeding his ass off. In game 2, they get dominated in mid-jungle support synergy, which spills over to complete control in the vision game for EG. Blabber gets abused by Evil Geniuses multiple times, thinking he's tankier than he is, who then take over the bottom and middle side of the map to rush down multiple turrets, and the gold lead balloons. They didn't fall 4.5k down because of draft disadvantages. Game 3 starts out perfectly for Cloud9, winning fights in both side lanes with a TF mid. And instead of continuing to take side lanes, number advantaged fights, they again brute force Dragon and instantly throw back their lead by getting hard out team fought. From there, C9's tracking and vision issues return off the reset, and they aren't prepared for EG's flip to the top side around Herald. Flipping attention to the Team Liquid 100 Thieves series, the conversation feels largely similar to me. Many of the comments about how TL's drafts in games 3 and 4 cost them the series are largely missing the forest for the trees. Yeah, those drafts weren't necessarily great, but what really happened is 100 Thieves stopped playing like dog shit. I mean, just listen to the players themselves.
I mean, to be honest, game 1 and 2, I don't know what we were doing, to be honest. Like, we just didn't play like human, to be honest. Like when we went back, I just said, like, guys, we are not even playing the game. If we play, like, let's just play the game. So I think we started playing the game and we won 3-0.
My bad.
In my opinion.
Besides, just looking at the drafts, isn't Team Liquid's first game the exact kind of thing fans would flame a draft for? The Sinner Aatrox into Ornn, J4, and TF? Except the snowball works, so people don't say anything about it. I don't want to say game 3 or game 4 drafts were insane, but if 100 Thieves were playing limp like game 1 and game 2, then the Ryze volley dominates mid and roams top to snowball against the Ornn, and they would just crush. Except now 100 Thieves are playing okay, so the bot and mid plays are actually contested and they go 1 for 1. Besides, everyone I've talked to about the game 5 draft pretty much agrees that Team Liquid had a better draft, but they lost somehow, almost like 100 Thieves played better than them. Crazy. Whippo's mistakes are something that fans called out as well, and I definitely don't want to make it seem like they didn't talk about gameplay related stuff, and I totally agree with that criticism. He has been struggling against top tier teams recently quite a bit. The main reason I hate always attributing everything to draft is that it completely robs players of storylines that they deserve. It's not an incredible turnaround by 100 Thieves who stopped playing like shit and figured it out mid-series. The narrative becomes TL draft, ego, doo-doo, haha, Ornn broken, even though they beat it in game 1. And I just think that when players play well and make adaptations, I want to give them the spotlight over minor draft advantages. Anyways, that's going to do it for this week of the Blame Game. I'm heading to Houston this week. I'm really looking forward to it. It's the first time in, I think, over 2 years we've had fans back in for the finals, so it's going to be super, super hype. I hope everyone has tickets. I hope it's sold out. If you're in the area, you should totally go. Catch you later. Thank you. Bye.
You know, sometimes when it's your job to do something and you can't figure out how to do it because you filmed so many outros over the years, and now you're just awkwardly at the end of somebody's YouTube video and they're sitting there being like, is this really happening? Is he just saying he doesn't know what outro to do? Well, if you're like that, then you might want to consider getting an Alienware computer. Because if I had one in front of me right now, maybe I'd have like a script that I've written on it that would be something I could refer to instead of this weird ad-lib thing that I'm doing right now. No, honestly, Alienware's got great stuff. We've been using everything that they create for years for TGI. I can actually officially say that now because it's just been like literal years. There's 2 years that just now where I wasn't even out here and we were using their stuff to do remote interviews and it was awesome. They allow us to create wonderful 4K videos like this one, and I really appreciate their support. So if you appreciate my videos, understand that we couldn't do it without them. So go check them out. There's a link in the description below.